This is my Bible. I believe the words that are written in it.
I believe the words that are written in it.
I receive the blessings from it.
I receive the blessings from it.
I can achieve all things through it.
And I can achieve all things through it.
Amen. You know, so often, like I was alluding to a little bit earlier, we look at ourselves and we feel as if there's so much going on in our lives, or we feel that as we've been through so much, like how could God use me? How could God still have a plan and purpose for my life? And sometimes we get so caught up in all the negative sides of life that we forget to realize that God has a hope in the future for each and every one of us. And it's so important, especially today, you know, with today's message, I really want to encourage each and every one of us how important it is that we can truly see ourselves through God's eyes. And so, like I said, I know a lot of stuff has happened to many of us in our lifetimes, and we could spend all day long just on one person telling us about all the trials and the tribulations and all the disappointments and all the letdowns and, you know, all the mistakes they made. I mean, we could spend forever in life, talking about that over and over and over again. Or we could decide that, you know, I no longer want to be a victim, but I want to be victorious. And in spite of my flaws, in spite of my shortcomings, God can still have a purpose for my life. You know, I don't know why it's so easy to point out all the negatives. You know, after today's service, we can have a big church meeting and we can ask everyone, where do you see room for improvement in the church? What was lacking? What needs to take place? And we'll spend all afternoon here. And this, but if we say, okay, what was positive with today's service? Pastor looked good. That's about it, you know? Couple amens. Got a couple amens. But anyways, even in life, you know, I said this example before. When we look in the mirror, most people don't look in the mirror and be like, hello, good looking. Or, you're beautiful. No, we look in the mirror and we're like, oh my gosh, take it away. Look at the gray, look at the wrinkle, the dark spot. That's what we see when we look in the mirror. Oh, look at my chubby cheeks. We don't look and be like, man, I look good today. We don't point out man, I got a good hair day going, you know. Makeup's on just perfect. Not that I wear makeup, Kevin. Lip gloss, there we go. But the thing is, we have to start looking at the positive side in life. And, you know, not just the whole scenario of the cup half full, half empty, but overflowing with goodness. That's where we got to get to that point. And it's not easy. I'm not going to tell you it is easy. It's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I can't tell you how many varies, but it's doable. And you know, the only thing that's stopping us from doing it and not doing it is this little thing right here, this mind of ours. The way we allow ourselves to think. Well, I want to tell you a story about this one guy who lived out in this village. You know, he stayed in his little hut and had a watering hole, a few miles from his house. And he had these two pots that had handles on them. He would put a stick between them, put them on his shoulders, and every single day he would travel the same path to the watering hole. He would dip each pot in, fill it up with water, put them on his shoulders, and travel back the same path, day in and day out. And then one day, the one pot was feeling a little bad, a little down, because he had a crack in it. And he turned to his master and he says, you know, I don't know why you continue to use me. You know, you spend all this time and energy hiking up and going to the watering hole to get water for yourself, and by the time you get back with me, half my water is gone because it seeps out through the cracks. So maybe it would be best if you throw me away and get a new pot. But his master turned to him, he says, I know all about your cracks. I know all about your flaws. But I want to show you something. He says, do you notice why I always keep you on the left side of me? And why I always travel the same path back? And so the pot was like, you know, it did dawned on me once or twice, but I wasn't sure. He says, I want you to look at the path that we travel and notice the beautiful flowers along the side of the path. He says, if it wasn't for your cracks, those flowers would not get watered every single day. So he says, even though you have cracks, I choose to continue to use you for my benefit. You see, if you didn't have cracks, I would have to go back and water those every single day or not have the beauty of the flowers. So sometimes we have cracks in our lives, but guess what? God still chooses to use us in all capacities to bring about His good and His glory. You know, certain things in life are very fragile, and we have to handle them with care. Some things are put together in such a way that are very delicate in nature. And if that's the case, you know, whenever we get something that's fragile, we tend to put it up on the shelf. You know, we don't let anybody touch it, let alone breathe on it, because we're afraid that something will happen to it. You know, nowadays, these Barbie dolls that they have nowadays are just made of plastic, and you could toss them and throw them and nothing happened. But remember the old porcelain dolls? Those dolls are very fragile. And it's, you know, you play with a porcelain doll like you play with a Barbie doll today, it'll crack and shatter. So a lot of times what, excuse me, you have these porcelain dolls and they're beautiful. You know, a lot of them, they're handmade. You put them up on a shelf. Oh, you can't play with that one. You know, your great-grandmother made that one. That one's special to me. And so sometimes in life we have certain things that to us are priceless. Imagine if you have this vase. Be fancy this morning. Vase. And it's been handed down from generation to generation. And now it's your turn to have this vase. And you have it up on a cupboard, on display for everyone to see. And just for the heck of it, you went and got it appraised one day. Not that you're going to sell it, but you just wanted to know how much it was worth. It was worth quite a bit of money, you know, because it's been in the family since the 1800s. Well, imagine if it got a little crack in it, or a little chip. Now, to someone else, it might not be worth as much because now it's flawed. But to you, it's still priceless. It still means so much to you because it's been in the family for so long. And it's just like, you wouldn't say, oh my gosh, this is chipped. So let's just throw it away, let's get a new vase, and let's start the tradition all over again. No, you wouldn't even think of doing that. Because in your mind, no matter if it's chipped or cracked, it's still priceless to you. Now to that appraiser, they might be like, oh yeah, it's only worth a couple bucks now. But to you, it's still worth all the money in the world because of the meaning, the significance behind it. So some things in life can break. A picture frame could break, it could crack, and you toss it away, get a new one. No big deal. But what about when our hearts are cracked? When someone cracks our heart, or we crack someone else's heart, are we so quick to just toss it aside and get a new one? Sometimes we are. I mean, look at the divorce rates. Crack, get rid of it, start over. Or any type of relationship, or even in the church. People come into churches and they get a little crack because someone didn't shake their hand. Pastor didn't. I asked for prayer requests and he named 50 other ones, but he left mine out. So I'm offended, I'm hurt, I'm cracked, I'm not coming back. And I'll say, forget them. Let them find another church. I don't care. And sometimes we just break off relationships when we get a little bit of cracked. Or sometimes we just need to realize that even though that some things are flawed, that they're still of value. You see, life is precious, and no matter how careful you are, one day you're going to receive some cracks if you haven't already. But it's important that we remember how precious we'll always be in God's eyes. He uses us even in our brokenness, and He will use His cracks, our cracks, to His benefit. Just like this guy used the cracks of that pot to his benefit, so that he didn't have to go back and water things all over again. He was already walking that way, already had water, why not water him now? But sometimes we might say, you might be here this morning like, I got a lot of cracks in my life. I made a lot of mistakes. Well, guess what? God will still use them. God is still you. You only know how someone's life is if you've actually walked in their shoes.
Amen.
You know, you might have a crack in your heart where you lost a loved one. Well, guess what? Now you're able to minister to someone else who lost a loved one. You know, thankfully I still have my parents. But it's kind of hard for me to minister to people who's lost their mom or dad because I still have mine. You know, I can give them all the textbook information on how to grieve and everything, but I truly don't know how they feel. And the same with you. Maybe, you know, you dealt with drugs, alcohol, you know, this or that. But because you've been there, you've done that, when you meet somebody that's struggling and going through the same thing, let me share with you my testimony. Cracks and all, God uses us. So don't give up on others or yourself because of the cracks or being less than perfect, because we all are less than perfect. That's just being honest. Ain't none of us perfect. Far from it. But Psalms 139:14 says, "Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it." See, we are beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God. And so you see how you are right now? This is how God made us. Or He allowed us to get to this point. And even though God wants us to live wonderful lives, and it wasn't His intention for sin to enter this world, but because of the sin, now we have all these flaws, but guess what? God still uses us. And He'll continue to use us until we put up that hand and say, no, I'm done. And many times we do that to God. Because, God's, stepped on my toes a bit. He told me something I didn't want to hear, but I needed to hear it. But we need to know that God made us to be great people. And through Him, we'll always be great. So sometimes things get a little bit of cracked, but they're still doable. Then things get a little bit broken. When something is broken, it's usually not of value anymore. Your cell phone, these phones, you can crack the screen. Anyone ever cracked their cell phone screen? Few. But it's still doable. You can still use your phone. It might hurt to swipe a couple times. But what about if your phone is broken? Now your phone doesn't work properly. Sometimes you gotta bang it a bit to get it to work, and you get frustrated with it. It can no longer function like the intended purpose. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Someone sends you a text message and it takes you an hour to respond back because your stupid phone's broken. It's often in our brokenness that the greatest testimonies come about. I mean, think about it. It's through our brokenness that the greatest it's great to hear someone's testimony and says, God has blessed me. I'm in good health. I got money. It's just, life is great. That's great that God blessed you in that such way, but other people listen to that testimony and just like, shut up. I don't want to hear it.
Amen. But
hearing a testimony of someone come up and say, I just want to testify how my life was cracked to the point where I was broken. But God lifted me out of that miry pit. God just put me on a solid foundation. Where I was once dead, now I'm alive. Now hearing a testimony like that, we're sitting on the edge of our seat and we just want to hear more, and we take it all in. Wow, look what God did for that person. But it's not until that person was broken that they were able to come up with such a message. Our most effective works we do for God will come out from our brokenness. Sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we look up. When life is going good or halfway good, we tend to start to go through the motions. I don't need to go to church. I'm good this. I'll go next Sunday. I don't need to pray as much as I used to. I don't need to read scriptures that much. Things are pretty good. But when we're broken, what happens? We're on our knees. We're crying before God. We're begging Him for grace and for mercy. We're asking God somehow, some way. And we're willing to do whatever He asks us. God, whatever you want me to do, just to save me from this mess. When we're broken, we get so obedient. I'm going to church. I don't care what you say. I'm going to church. I'm broken. I need God. You need help at church, I'm there. It's in our brokenness that we do the greatest works. And he will use all our hurts and our pain and make us stronger than we were the day before. And that's what God does. If you're here this morning, you're cracked, you're broken, God will take care of things. And we are who we are today because of all the cracks, because of all the brokenness. It made us who we are. Many times you'll meet someone that's cried behind closed doors and have fought battles that no one even knew about. You don't know what one another is going through. Granted, there are some people you know everything they're going through, and you could care less to know every single detail. But there's a lot of people that we meet that you would not have a clue they cried themselves to sleep last night. That they're really struggling in certain areas in their life. Because we put on that good front. Okay, here we go. There's a smile again. I'm good. But we need to realize that there are broken people out there. And we need to be mindful of that and sympathetic and pray and have an empathy for them. It's those that have suffered great loss and experienced tremendous pain that will go forth encouraging others. You know, if you know someone today that is always pouring into you, saying, oh, I just want to encourage you today. I'm praying for you. You're doing such a wonderful job. If you're fortunate to have someone like that in your life to pour into you in such a way, I can guarantee you there's a reason why they're like that. Because one day they needed somebody like that in their lives and they didn't have that person. So now that they're in a good place, they're going to make sure that they're that person to other people because they know what it's like to be cracked, to be flawed, to be broken, to be discouraged, to be distraught, to be depressed. And so what they're going to do, they're going to go above and beyond and out of their way to make sure that you don't feel like that. And that's why they're going to send you encouraging messages. That's why they're going to tell you, I'm praying for you today. That's why they're going to tell you, you look nice today. Or I appreciate you. Because they once needed that themselves. And you look at a person like that, and you think, man, I would love to be like that person. I would love to go forth encouraging people. Their life has to be so wonderful that they're able to encourage everyone like that. Well, no, that's not the case. Their life was once in turmoil, and they realized the importance of someone coming alongside of encouraging them, because they themselves was once broken. Even our brokenness, God can and will put the pieces back together again. And often this time in the correct way. Sometimes we build a life that is just so far from the way God intended it to be, and we wonder why it doesn't function properly. We put ourselves together. I put my eye over where my ear is. I put my mouth on top of my head. Put my arm down by my leg, and my leg where my arm should be. And I wonder why I can't walk or get around. Well, and then I fall down and I get broken. And now God's saying, okay, let me put you back together. But this way, the proper way. This is where the leg goes. This is where the arm goes. This is where the eyeballs go. Now you can see clearly. Now you can hear good. Now you can walk, and now you can reach out and touch other people. You see, sometimes God has to allow us to get broken and disassembled so that He can put us back together the proper way. So we all are a little broken, some a little more than others, but guess what? That's okay. It's okay because God is the master creator. He's the master creator. Even in our brokenness, we are of great value to God. Some things in our lives do need to be a little broken from time to time. Some pride need to be broken of that, some stubbornness, maybe some sinful habits, which we'll just stop right there. But those things need to be broken. Some of the bondages that we've allowed ourselves to enslave us need to be broken. Then there are those things that get broken that we feel are going to literally destroy us. So even if you have a broken heart or a broken spirit or a broken relationship, you just need to surrender it to God. You just have to give it to Him today and allow Him, the master creator, to fix it, to restore it, to heal it. God will take that which was broken and He'll make it into something new. He will make it into something for His glory. Psalms 34:18 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and He saves those who are crushed in spirit. So guess what? If you're here today and you're saying you're broken, guess what? You're closer to God than someone who's not broken. God is close to the brokenhearted. And he's near those who are crushed, who are cracked in their spirits. So a lot of times, we can get cracked, a little flawed. We can even be broken, not work properly. Like going back to the cell phone. You could crack the screen, it can still function. It could be broken and work sometimes and not the other times. And then there are those times where something in our lives is literally destroyed. Now, if you take your cell phone and it gets ran over by a semi-truck, I would say it's pretty much gone. It's destroyed. Some things can be so damaged that it's literally beyond repair. We can try to fix it the best that we can, but guess what? It's too far gone. I don't care how tech savvy you are. You take your cell phone and you run over it with a semi-truck, and then you take the pieces, it's not going to work anymore. You can you can spend hours, weeks, months, years to try to reassemble it, to get it back to working again, but guess what? It's gone. You gotta let go of it. And there's certain areas of our lives that we've held on to for so long. They were cracked a little bit, but hey, it was doable. It even got broken and didn't function properly. But then you get to the point where it's destroyed. And it's more of a hindrance to hold on to it than it is to let go of it. And so we just have to have wisdom to know what it is that we just need to let go of. And some things we need to let go and just give them to God. God, here it is. It's yours. At times, sometimes we sit and we wonder, how did things get so bad in my life? Was it my fault or was it your fault? How did we get to this stage? How did things go from bad to worse to utterly ridiculous? We'll spend years trying to get over the hurt from that very thing that was destroying us. Sometimes we have to know when to just close that door and just surrender to God and know that, God's going to open up another door, that He's going to make a way where there seems to be no way. So how do we get past the hurt, the damage, the destruction? First thing we need to do is stop blaming others and stop blaming ourselves. When something is damaged, we place the blame on other people. Oh, it's your fault. You're the reason why this is happening. My life would be so much better if so-and-so didn't say or do this. And then there's times where we take the blame ourselves. If only I would have did things differently. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I said that. Well, we got to get to the point where, it's in the past. There's nothing we can do to change it. It's done. It's over with. And all we have to do is just trust God today. And no matter whose fault it is, guess what? There needs to be forgiveness. There needs to be forgiveness. It doesn't matter if it's your fault. It doesn't matter if it was my fault. Life has to go on, or we're just going to be stuck being destroyed. Now, when we give forgiveness, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be consequences to our action. It doesn't mean that the other person is going to get off free and clear. Sometimes when we hold on to that unforgiveness because we feel as if we got to make this person pay for what they did to us. But if I forgive this person, they're going to think, oh, everything's hunky-dory, and they can just go on about life. But no, they need a pain. They need to suffer a little bit. So I'm not going to give them that forgiveness. They shouldn't get off scot-free. And then sometimes we think, well, if I do something, all I got to do is say sorry, and everything's fine. That's not always the case. Because sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes, we make our bed and we have to lie in it. But that doesn't mean that God's not going to pour forth His grace, His love, His mercy. But we need to give that forgiveness to ourselves and to others. Scripture talks about how can we ask God to forgive us if we can't forgive others? And just because I choose to forgive someone for hurting me doesn't mean that I agree with what they did. It doesn't mean that, we're going to be the best friends from here on out. It just means that I'm not going to allow myself to be in bondage over what they did. I love the little saying that says, unforgiveness is like us drinking poison ourselves and waiting for someone else to die from it. All it does is hinder ourselves. If you do something wrong to me and I don't forgive you, you're going to be like, who cares? and I'm going to sit and stew in it. By granting forgiveness, we are setting ourselves free so that restoration can begin. God is in the business of restoring all that has been lost. You see, there isn't anything too difficult for God. Nothing is too difficult from God. It's through our brokenness that we'll find that breakthrough, though. That we'll find that breakthrough, that we'll be able to step into that promised land. That we'll be able to go beyond, feeling as if we were dead, to experiencing life once again. You see, God can and will heal a broken heart, but first we have to be willing to give him all the pieces. We have to give him all the pieces. A lot of times, something is broken and we take it before God and we say, here you go, God. You got to put it back together. You got to make it right. But God's sitting there and he put this piece close here, that piece close there, and he realized there's a few pieces missing. But those are the pieces we're holding on to. I can't let go of these pieces. I got to hold on to this past. I got to hold on to this hurt. I got to hold on to this resentment. But guess what? It's not until we finally are able to give it all to God that he's able to complete and fix and restore. Oh, he can get us close, but as long as we're still holding on to certain areas of our lives, it's not going to be complete. Psalms 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. That's exactly what God is here this morning to do. To heal our brokenness, to bind up our wounds. A lot of times, because we are cracked, we are broken, we are destroyed, we start to feel worthless. We feel as if, why even go on in life? What is the point? What is so sad is the suicide rate. Can you only imagine getting to a point in life where you feel that your only hope is to take your own life? I mean, that has to be pretty bad. To feel as if no one is there, no one's there to help me. I don't have a hope in the world. That I'm worthless. I made too many mistakes. I've suffered too much loss. I don't know how things got this far gone. Have you ever had a moment where you just felt worthless? When someone you deeply care about treats you poorly, it's not too difficult to feel like you're nothing. You ever have someone say something to you that really hurts? And you don't know why they said it, but it just made you feel so bad. You see, it's so important that today that we understand the value of who we are. Our feelings are not toys that we need to allow people to play with. Sometimes we give people too much permission to play with our feelings. Go ahead, walk all over me. Go ahead, say whatever you want to say. I deserve it. No, you don't deserve it. No one should ever be given the right to make you feel worthless. Not even yourself. Sometimes, we'll sit and we'll ponder these thoughts and we feel like, what's the point? I've tried to do certain things in my life and I just get doors closed one right after another. So what's the point? Why even keep going on? Why keep trying? It's in our thoughts that we have allowed the lies to be replayed over and over again. And we need to shut it down. We need to take those thoughts captive today. Someone could pay us 100 compliments and tell us what a wonderful job we did, how much they appreciate us. Someone could tell us, how wonderful we are and how blessed they are to have you in your life. I mean, hundreds of people could tell you this, but that one person could come up to you and say, I don't really like it. Or I think what you did, you could have did it better. Or, I don't know what you were thinking. And it doesn't matter. All those other people can pour into you positive things, one after another. But you know what one you're going to ponder on? That one you're going to think about? That one negative comment. And you won't be able to get past it. You're going to sit there and you go, why did they say that? Did I really do a bad job? Should I do things differently? Well, and we don't understand it. But, we sit and think, but all these other people loved it. But we focus on that one negative. We focus so much on our mistakes that we often wonder why anyone would even love us. You ever feel that way? I don't deserve to be loved. I've made too many mistakes. I've wronged too many people. I messed up way too much. I don't deserve to be loved. I don't deserve a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, the 100th chance. And so we start to give up on ourselves. And we just say, this is my life. I just got to deal with it. But that's not what God would have for you. That's not what God has decreed over us. We have allowed ourselves to sink into despair and believe the lie that we are worth nothing. You ever feel that way? And we allow ourselves to think that way, feeling empty, lonely, discouraged. It can begin to weigh heavy on our hearts. Sometimes people, they'll start coming to church and they'll start feeling good. Things are good, uplifting. And then the enemy will speak this word of doubt, discouragement to them. And all of a sudden, I can't go to church. Oh, I'm so unworthy. If only you knew what I did. But guess what? God knows. Nothing is secret from Him. And He says, He still loves you. He still sees great value in you. Feelings that we aren't good enough and our disappointment to others, that can still our joy and our self-worth. Man, I just wish I could do more for you. I wish I was a better person. And then we start to just really focus on all the downside of life. But God doesn't make junk. He doesn't make mistakes. Everything He makes is of value. And actually, it's priceless. Your life is priceless to God. Flaws and all, God has great things in store for each and every one of us. Out of everything that God created, you are His greatest masterpiece. You think of all the wonders of the universe, the sunsets that He paints each and every night. The vast galaxies, the sun, the moon, the beautiful flowers. And He looks at each and every one of us in our distraught selves. And to Him, we are His greatest masterpiece. See, don't sell yourself short. Stop being the victim and know that you are a true child of God today. We have to see ourselves the way God sees ourselves. You ever pour into someone's life and you really think so highly of this person and you could just see the potential of this person, but you can't get it through to this person's thick skull that they're wonderful, that they're great. And you come up to me and you say, listen, I wish for one moment you could see yourself through my eyes. And then you'll realize how you really are. And I know that God feels the same way. If only we could see ourselves through His eyes, we'll realize how wonderful we really are. Because we are His children. We are exactly who He wants us to be, and He'll continue using us, even when others want to simply abuse us. God is here today to make things right. And we are His children. We are all princes and princesses of the King of Kings. 1 Timothy 6:15 says, for at just the right time, Christ will be revealed from heaven by the blessed and only Almighty God, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. You see, once we realize who God is, once we realize our potential in Christ, then we'll be able to see extraordinary things to begin to unfold. So this morning, if you're sitting there this morning and you're feeling a little cracked, things just aren't right. Or maybe you got to the point where you feel broken this morning. That things aren't functioning the way they should. Or maybe you're a little bit past that and you feel literally destroyed. That, you wonder why should life even continue for you? Why is God still breathing life into you? Why don't He just call you home and call it a day? Or if you're here this morning and you just feel so worthless, as if God can't use you anymore because of all the mistakes you made, because of all the poor choices, because of what you allowed your body to enter into, and what you allowed your mind to focus on. God is here today to set you straight. He wants to get us back on that straight and narrow path. He wants to let you know that He loves you unconditionally. There's nothing that you could ever do to make Him stop loving you. And so we need to know today exactly what it is God has in store for us, and know that He has greatness in store for us because we are great and because we serve a great God. So I don't want you to leave this place today feeling lost or hopeless, or feeling as if God's just through with you. It doesn't matter if you're 9 years old or 99 years old. God still has a plan and purpose. And that's what we want to do and relay to everyone here at Church of New Harvest, to believe and receive all that God has for you. Do you believe that this morning, church? Amen. If you need prayer this morning, if you want us to pray for anything, whether you're cracked, you're going through something, you're facing something, you feel broken, feel worthless, we invite you to come up this morning. We want to lay hands on you. We want to bless you and encourage you. Amen. Want to be on YouTube, send it to them.